Hello and a very, very warm welcome to this World Vision United webinar on Thursday, the 25th of March, 2021. I'm Martin Campbell, the Programme Director for World Vision United, and you'll be very pleased to hear, I hope, that we're joined for today's webinar by our Product Owner, Helmut Lindl, and by our Head of Customer Success, Ria George. So last month, we took, in the webinar, we took a look at the principles of World Vision United 4, and we talked about how we're working in a different way. We're using agile analytics, and we talked about how features are delivered and how, as an office using United, you can input into that process. But of course, United isn't really about features, it's about performance. So in today's session, Ria's going to take a look at how World Vision United is actually implemented in the support office, implemented for your supporters. So if you're planning your engagement with United, or even if you've already started your engagement with United, I hope that this is going to give you a really good understanding of what it's going to be like for your office to be involved and how to get the kind of performance that United 4 can really deliver. Later on in the session, we're also going to have our Q&A. So if you're not already logged into YouTube, you can log in with a Google account, which is super quick to set up if you've not got one already. Then do log in now, because that will enable you to contribute in the chat, ask your questions there, and we can respond to those for you in the stream. We'll cut across to whoever is the most appropriate person to answer those questions. But before we get to any of that, we're going to take a look at one of the first World Vision United sites to go live, the United platform for World Vision Spain. Helmut's going to take us on a little bit of a tour, look at the early indicators of the kind of performance we're seeing there, before launch, and also highlight some of the new features to the platform which have been delivered since we did our last webinar and which are now, of course, live for World Vision Spain. So, well, without further ado, Helmut, over to you.
Well, thanks for that, Martin. Let me just share my screen. So today, this will be just a quick demo session without script, without slides or anything, but we're just going to see what's there for Spain. So Spain has worked really hard on content and on setting up their website in the past couple of weeks and months. And from a technical perspective, we're now basically ready to launch this. So you can see here in the URL, this is just called content.wunited.org in the Spanish side. So the only thing that's missing from a technical perspective is to just map their domain to the site. Other than that, everything can just stay as it is. And we're looking at the homepage here, and I'm first going to show you real quick what that looks like in the front end, how you can go to a landing page, some of the smaller new features that we've built in the past couple of weeks. And then from a backend perspective, I'd like to show you just a little bit how easy and fast it is to just change things. So, for example, if you want to set up a new emergency appeal, how long it will take you to do that on your content editors, to do that, and how fast you can actually launch a new appeal should an emergency arise, for example. Right. So let's look at the front end first. So one of the things that we have actually implemented is that now on the navigation you can actually highlight something. So here Spain has highlighted their child sponsorship appeal. So wherever you are on the page, if you want to navigate, you see this highlighted button that gets you to child sponsorship, which is a site-wide feature, right? And then on the homepage, you can see a hero again with the main call to action. You can see other products here as well, childhood rescue, for example, or the gift shop. What else do they have here? That's an emergency appeal for coronavirus. So those are the main products they have. And then there's a secondary call to action here as well. You can see the main benefits that World Vision has. We're here in more than 100 countries. We're transforming lives. That's what I know of the 2 words of Spanish that I can understand. We have some a specific element for power claims as well. So that's something that you can leverage as well. You can add videos to this and so on. So there's a couple of other things on the homepage. But I wanted to have a look at the childhood rescue landing page in particular, because that's one of the main products, and because we looked at child sponsorship in one of the past webinars where we saw that you can actually see different children. So now I want to show you this. So this is a landing page, again, with a call to action button above the fold, really clear. And one thing that we now implemented just recently is that this is your main call to action. So that's what you want to optimize for. And as soon as the supporter scrolls down, you can see that actually a sticky call to action button that says donate now appears, and that actually stays here all through the site. So you don't have to add a new button for each of the viewports, especially in mobile. This would amount to lots of buttons, and it would be quite hard to optimize this on mobile and on desktop, because you have different viewports on mobile and on desktop. So what happens now is that you can always see this call to action button as a supporter. The only other call to action button that you have here now is if you want to have more information, that's a secondary call to action. If you have scrolled all the way down, you're still not convinced that you want to donate, you can get more information via the secondary call to action. If you scroll up, you can see again that as soon as you get to the first 1 or 1.5 viewports, you can see this button again, and the sticky button disappears again. So once you want to actually donate, you can click here and you can see the first, so that's the Spanish implementation of this, donation configuration. So you can say either I want to donate on a monthly basis, or I want to donate on a one-time basis. You have different amount options, and you can continue. Then in the next step, you can actually give your email address. So that's my email address here. You have to agree to the terms and conditions and privacy statement. Then I can say I'm Senor Helmut Lendl. And now all that I'm doing here, and we'll see that in a bit when we're seeing what it takes to set up a new donation. All of this is global. So this means it's available for all products. You don't have to set it up for each product again. So that's my physical address, code postal, and my test city. So one thing that we're putting live next week, I think, is that the country is actually pre-filled to your default country, because 90% of people just donate from Spain. So there's no way to have no need to have this extra click, but still it's going to be a drop down. Where if you're not from Spain, so if you want to donate from Portugal instead, you can select the other country as well. So this step here is a country-specific step, which is tax ID for Spain. It might be a different tax information for somebody else. In the UK, we have gift aid, for example. In South Africa, we don't have any tax information, so this might be skipped as well. So here you need to know, because there's some validation, what kind of tax code you have. So that's just my example tax code. And then here I can actually add my credit card information, or I can pay via PayPal, because those are the two options for, I think I selected one-off donation. So those are the two options for one-off donation. So I'm not quite sure if this is actually hooked up to the live system. So let's stop here. That's actually the last step. So if I click continue here, I'm rerouted to PayPal. If I give my credit card information, which I don't want to share with everybody in the webinar, I'm redirected directly to the thank you page. So the next step is now the thank you page, and that's it. Right, so this is what this donation flow looks like on the live site. So maybe let's have a look at one specific example, which is we have an emergency and we quickly want to launch a new emergency appeal, because we want to get funds out as quickly as possible. And you know that it's always kind of a race of which of the NGOs can get out first with their appeal. So let's have a look in the back end, and I think I have to toggle off mobile now. So let's have a look at that. So now I'm just on the same domain. I'm just logging in through the backend, and I can now see. And we've shown that in some of the past webinars as well. You can see all the different sites here. So the Spanish side, Irish side, South African side, and so on. And I'm not going to mess with the Spanish side now, but I'm just going to use the master side. So what I want to do now is I want to create a new emergency appeal. So let's do that. And under home, I can create this. I can create this wherever I want in the site map. For my example here, I'm just going to create it under home. I'm going to delete it later, so people won't get mad at me for messing with their sites. And so let's use the emergency appeal site. And now I have kind of a new page, right? And I can say this is, let's say it's, for example, for education. I know that doesn't really fit the example, but let's say an emergency appeal for emergency education, right? So it's donate to education, and that's my form here. And my headline will, of course, be donate to education. My body text will be something like, thanks for donating to education. And so one of the reasons why we have to add some text here, which you think might be unnecessary, is that there's automatic translation for all of this. So here I have a submit button label, which I'm just going to call submit, and I have a back button label, which I'm just going to call back. But what happens now is that once I translate all this, let's say to Spanish for World Vision Spain, for example, it automatically gets translated to Spanish. And Jesus in Spain can actually go there and say, oh, that's the wrong translation for back. They don't mean go back, but they mean the back of my body back. So let's change this, because Google Translate got it wrong, or maybe in 80% of the cases, Google Translate got it right. So Jesus doesn't need to do anything, right? Here I can give my product variant, which might be different per country. So that's maybe just an ID or whatever that gets stored in the database. And I can specify that this is actually out of all my options for products, which are globally defined. This is an emergency appeal. So next I can select a couple of different amounts. So I can say you can either donate $24, and you can say with $24 or $25, you can make a difference. So so this might also be with $25, you can buy books or whatever. You can select an image to this. So I'm just going to select a brand image. You can also reuse all the images that you've previously used. So a couple months back, I created this folder about education. That's why I just spontaneously chose to use education, because I know I have a couple of brand images for those here already. My alt text probably donate to education. So that's my first example amount that supporters can select in the front end. Then I'm just going to create two more of those. So I'll have $50, and I think so you can make a bigger difference with $50. This might also be, you can, I don't know, buy some more books, or you can buy a Seo for a school, and the image alt text is again donate to education. And then there's a third one, which is maybe $100, and you can say with $100 you can make the biggest difference. So this is how you can select what you call dollar handles, I guess, in most of the offices. So that's the stuff in an emergency where people from the field department, they just go back and forth with fundraising and ask, oh, what dollar handles do we have? Oh, in this emergency, we can actually get this for $200. We can get this for $100, and so on. Here I can, let's keep it at $3 handles here. So now you can select the default amounts. So for this, let's say we only have a one-off donation here, and my default amount would be $50, for example. And my default image would then be the one which I don't remember. I think was the one on Seo. Here again, we have a default alt text. Thanks for your donation. All this stuff, just to remind you, is getting translated into Spanish if we're going to the Spanish side automatically. My minimum amount might be 10, and the error would be, please donate more than $10, right? Something like this, and just in a nicer way if we're doing this from a marketing perspective. So that's my default amount. My amount label, again, for translation, will just be amount. The allowed donation frequency, so let's say this is just a one-off donation. I could say if it's an emergency donation, or if it's a, let's say, an education donation where I also want to enable people to donate monthly, I can do that as well. So for an emergency donation, probably the use case is more that it's one-off donation. My currency symbol might also be different per country. So for example, it's dollars. And again, we only have one-off donations here. So this is actually everything you have to set for the form. Then you can set some page level things like the meta title, meta description. So I'm just going to copy paste that here. My title, if I'm linking to this internally, my subtitle, if I'm linking to this internally, a thumbnail image for the whole form. So if my main image was this one, for example, I could just select this one with an alt text again. And then one thing that we need to set up is how are we going to track this, right? So this is about a donation page, and it's an emergency one-off donation. So this actually tells us now that this is the part of the page that we're getting from. And now we can also select page tags. So let's say this is education, so that wherever we're linking automatically or dynamically to a page, we can say, please link to all the pages that are tagged with education, and your new education donation will be distributed across your whole site dynamically. If you want to specify a different URL than the one you have, you can do this here as well. Don't want to do this now. There's some SEO stuff on here that you can set as well if you like to, but you don't have to. So, and that is all for this. So let's save this. That is saved and published. And now there's only one more thing that we need to do. So you can see that we now have this donate to education form here. And the one thing we can now do is add a thank you page for this, right? Because that's specific to this page. So we should say, thank you for donating to education. And that's probably our headline as well. And then we can say this body text, something like this as well. And then again, for translation purposes, we can say what are all the labels that we have here. So donation frequency. This could be stuff that's more marketing focused from your perspective. If you don't just want to say address, you could say your address or where you live or whatever's appropriate for your country, right? My email label is email. My payment reference is this. So that's a payment ID then. And again, we have some page-specific information here as well, which I'm also just going to copy and paste. So you can make sure that you have the right content in here. If you want to, you can have a thumbnail image. Doesn't really make much sense for the thank you page because we're not going to link directly to a thank you page. Again, the question, where is this going to get tracked? Again, we're not going to dynamically load the thank you page somewhere. And so no need for this. And that's it. And now I looked a little bit at the clock. It took me like 9 minutes or so to do this. Maybe it was 8. And now we can have a look. And that's always, if you're doing this in live with lots of people questions, does it actually work in the front end? So we're going to look at that in a minute. Just want to mention one more thing, which is I now did this on the master side. And what I could do now is I could push this out to all of your country sites with automated translation. And your editors at the country sites would only have to review the translations, and you could publish that out directly. So if we're thinking about how can we make sure that a new site or a new page is published quickly, not only for your own site, but in a coordinated way for all of the different country sites. And that's even quicker, right? So it's the 9 minutes that it takes an editor to initially create it, but each of the country editors can even do this quicker because all the stuff will already be pre-filled, will already be in your language. It will just be as well translated as Google Translate API can do it. So everything you need to do is to check where Google Translate API maybe has made some mistakes, or you want to have a little bit more of a cultural difference to this. That's how this works. And I think I saw this at another one. So let's just look at the Donate for Childhood Rescue translations. Yeah, so you can see how this works in practice. So we can see that the Netherlands are currently reviewing their translation. Ireland has approved. South Africa has approved. United Kingdom has closed. I don't even know what that means. And Italy is currently reviewing. So that's what this looks like in practice. But let's go back to my quick form, and let's have a look at the front end and toggle on mobile again, so that we can see what that looks like on mobile. So you can remember now that I said, thanks for donating to education. $50 is my default amount, and it says with $50 you can make a bigger difference. You can see the different images here that I just uploaded. This is that one. With 100, you can make the biggest difference. With 25, you can make a difference, and so on. And this is, I set submit here, which is probably not the best label. So we could have said next or go to checkout or whatever. And so this is what that looks like. And why this has worked so fast to set this up is actually because if I'm clicking submit here, I now come to the checkout, which is global. So that's the one thing that you only set up once in the beginning. And of course you can optimize it as we go. And we're always collecting as soon as we're live in market data to make sure that it's actually user friendly and UX gets improved. But if you're setting up a new form, you actually only need to worry about this one page and the thank you page, right? So that's how you can really quickly get out a new transaction. And you don't have to worry about what payment methods are available for this, because that's set up globally. You don't have to worry about, did I forget to put the tax ID step in here? Or what about my different fields for the address? Did I forget the postcode, or did I use in my other forms? How did I do it? So it's a really really smooth experience for the supporters as well, because they can always see the same steps in an optimized way. And one thing that I just noticed, which is pretty cool as well, is that actually the session remembers what I put in. So you can see that it still remembered that I had put in my email address earlier. And that I had agreed to the data usage. So you can see here again, my first name and last name is still in here as well. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so that was just one use case of how you can actually create this in the backend. I'm glad that it actually worked. That's always a little bit nervous about this if you're doing this in real time, and how this looks in the front end as well. At the end of the session, I'm happy to answer some questions if you want me to show some other stuff as well. Happy to do this. So feel free to post any questions in the chat as well. So for Spain, we actually did two types of checks. One is an SEO score check with a tool called SEMrush. And what we saw actually is that the current Spanish site performs at about a score of 60 to 65 out of 100, which is kind of okay. It's not too bad, not too good from an SEO perspective. But the new site that is not even live yet actually performs at a score of above 80, where the top 10, so I think was something like 85 or so, 83, where the top 10 websites globally perform around 90. So we're already very much at the top level of SEO compatibility. So that's something that we're really looking to improve as we go live and as we actually have data coming in. But we can see that we already have quite a good confidence that first, compared to benchmarking other sites, we're doing well and we're actually up to industry standards. And second, we're definitely improving compared to current websites that are used across the partnership. So at least for Spain, we can already say that. And the second one was about page speed, where also we had a significant increase. So you could, it's probably not the best example if I'm using mobile here in a simulated environment, but you could see that there's practically no delay in loading the pages. So here as well, we're making leaps in terms of performance compared to what's used currently across the partnership, and we're already up to industry standards with this. So all in all, I'm very excited to have Spain pull the trigger after Easter, after everyone's back from their vacation. And as I mentioned, this site is ready to be used. The only thing we now need to do is to switch the DNS and to make sure that supporters can benefit from this experience as well. So that's it from me in my short demo, and I'm going to give it back to Martin to introduce the next segment in this webinar.
Thank you, Helmut. Really interesting to see that behind the scenes walkthrough and pick up on some of the sort of capabilities that are there so quickly. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have sort of spotted some real gems in there, which we can certainly come back to in Q&A if you'd like to. We're really excited about those results as well. To see such good performance right off the bat in search engine optimization is fantastic. And in terms of speed, it's actually difficult to measure speed before you've launched a site, because the best industry measure of speed is to use a tool called Google Speed Analysis, which actually gathers data from real world users on the Google Chrome browser and tells you how fast they experience the site, which is fantastic. What we can say at the moment is that we're already seeing speed results that are 2 or 3 times quicker than the previous generations of the sites that we're replacing. But we don't really know how to pin a proper number on that until we're live, which of course we'll be reporting back in this session. But as Helmut said, if you've used these sites, you will notice how quick they are, and that's certainly visible to the user. So we saw a little bit of a walkthrough there in terms of how we might go about setting up a new campaign in a hurry. Of course, the other thing we can do, and you've seen this implicitly in what Helmut was showing, is to have different types of emergency campaigns already prepared. So although we in that instance, we published and we were showing you how to push all the way through to live, actually, brilliant idea to get those campaigns prepared, ready for different kinds of disaster, with some information prepared about different parts of the world, so that in the event of us needing to respond quickly, most of the content's already done, can already be signed off, and it can already have the expert views of our colleagues in the field in those parts of the world or who deal with those kinds of disasters. And then we can very simply push those out. And you also saw a little bit there about the potential of being able to have the centralized content come through to your site, which I think Ria's going to talk a little bit more about in the next segment. So thanks for that, Helmut. As Helmut said, do have your questions ready for later on so that we can go into any areas that you want to see more of. But that shows you what happens when you are on United, and what Jesus is able to do, because he's already there and we're already ready to go out the door with the Spain site. So I think the question we want to move on to now is, how do I get there? How do I engage in United? What does that mean for my office? Maybe how's that different from what I might have done with United 3 or with other vendors or platforms elsewhere? So to address all of that for us, I'm going to hand over to Ria to take us through what it means to be a part of United 4.
Thanks very much, Martin, and thanks, Helmut. It was just very exciting to see the Spain site all set to go live. So over the last year, I've been working with offices that are planning to implement World Vision United 4. And one thing that I notice is that those offices have some challenges in common. You're under pressure for growth in fundraising income. You're under pressure of very limited resources. You're having to learn about some very specialist areas like search engine optimization and conversion rate optimization at the same time as dealing with new campaigns and products like World of Firsts and Chosen. And on top of that, last year, with the COVID pandemic, you're working from home or adjusting to new realities of not being able to meet your colleagues or just far too many Zoom calls. So United 4 has been designed to help you. It's been designed to increase performance, but also lighten the load on you, as you saw in the case of that form completion, which just took 9 minutes, from start. And the same goes for new products and campaigns as well. For instance, we've just informed editors of the new pages to mark the 10th anniversary of the crisis in Syria, so you can use them for your appeals. This will save time and effort for content editors across all offices using the platform that support this ongoing emergency for Syria. You can utilize your time and resources instead to work on your marketing strategy, plan your campaigns, and promote this digitally and focus on results. It's indeed a different way of working. It's not like working with your agency where you ask for some changes and then wait to assess how that comes through in terms of performance. You also have far greater control of your campaigns because we will train you how to create these pages. There are plenty of templates already available for campaigns, blogs, and for just supporter information to help you create these pages really easily. And because United is so different from the previous way of working that you'll have used, it's important to understand how to get the best out of it, and particularly how to set up your teams for success. So let's look at what getting involved with United means for you internally. To start with, project planning. When you get involved, you'll appoint a key contact to represent your office for onboarding onto United 4. They'll manage the overall project for you and ensure that the right people take part at the right time and take the right actions. They'll work with me and the rest of the customer success team through the onboarding process. We use Smartsheet as our project planning tool, and we give all stakeholders access to it. And we use it not just to track deliverables, accountability, and dates, but also to save documents, notify and communicate with project team, set reminders, and share data. So it becomes one place where you can capture everything that's going on with regard to onboarding. The other aspect of getting involved is change management. We do recognize onboarding United 4 is a process of business change. Building content yourself, for instance, can be a significant change for offices that are used to sending requests to an agency and then evaluating the options that come back. Some of your internal processes might need to be changed. For instance, how you use your CRM, using it in a standard way as opposed to customizing fields to suit some local practices. There are new digital tools to be used and understood, which bring new skills to the team. For all these changes, we'll want to ensure that we make good connections with different stakeholders in your team and ensure that we are prioritizing performance in the right areas. So it is worthwhile to recognize and call out these business changes for the value that they will bring to your supporters, and also use this opportunity of onboarding to engage with your senior leaders to improve legacy processes. So that's the second aspect. The third aspect of coming onto United 4 is content management, which is exciting and big as well. So we provide training on the content management system, or the CMS, when you are given access as a writer or editor. This training shows you how to navigate the CMS, gives you hands-on exercises to work on, and also walks through the latest features released on the platform. The training also shows you where to find more information on new releases, which come across every 2 to 3 weeks, and learn more about aspects such as search engine optimization, which is crucial for content. We're also conducting content management workshops for each office and provide editor guides to navigate the site content that we've provided already in an efficient way. The training material is all available online on the Community Hub in help articles for each feature on the CMS. So please use this resource as your first port of call when you have a question on how to use the CMS. Of course, you can also ask for help via Ask Gabby, and we will respond to you quickly. Also want to mention supporter contact. So your contact team will need to understand what United 4 is doing, because we're building out features in United which will enable far more supporter contact to happen via your digital platform. Change of address, payment details, and preferences can all be passed through United in future. So this needs to be done in alignment with your supporter contact team so that they know what's coming up and how to prepare for it. And once we complete, having your platform configured to meet your needs on data, payments, and content, we will be ready to test end-to-end processes on your live website. So this is what we call end-to-end testing, and where we simulate the actions of a supporter on the website and then track that right through to from the forms through to payment processes, through to transaction emails that get triggered, and the data that gets captured, which we pass on to you for your CRM. We will provide test scripts for various transactions, financial and non-financial, and check whether they're performing as expected. The customer success team conducts these tests, but we'll also ask you to do them so that you are satisfied that all these systems are working as you expect. And the biggest benefit of all of this will be to your digital team, because once you complete onboarding and your site is ready for launch, your digital team will be freed up from a lot of work that involves looking at checkout optimization. As Helmut mentioned, it's one standard checkout across the site, or managing form fields, because there's a lot of flexibility already provided on forms. And they can focus instead on where the platform fits in with the rest of digital marketing. For example, bringing in high quality leads from your social media campaigns. We will also share analytics on performance of your content and campaigns with you, and then work with you to optimize this. So that's an overview of what getting involved with United 4 will mean internally for you, and the positive change it can drive across your digital marketing and other business processes. More on this when we actually meet and kind of work with each of you separately. But now I'll pass this over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Ria. And I think that's a really useful overview for us all to understand the impact that working in a really modern digital environment can have. That aspect of project planning, managing the internal changes needed to take on those new kind of tools, deciding to what degree we're going to get engaged in content and making sure that we can get the results we want there, managing supporter contacts, and then that aspect of getting up and running in the first place, the end-to-end testing, and getting the digital team all lined up around the new reality. There's a lot to take in, and I think that's something that we maybe want to look back at and rerun that little section of the talk from Ria to understand, okay, these are all the things. But I would just say, don't get overwhelmed by that. I know that when Ria's team first engage with each office, what we do is sit down and go through these in detail and understand in each area what's needed, who would be the best person to do it, and work out what's the best way forward based on the capabilities of your office. Because, of course, we're working with a global partnership with a huge variation in the number of people that have different skills, in the availability of those skills over time. And one of the big benefits of the United 4 platform is just how much comes out of the box. Far more than on United 3, and I mean far more than you could ever achieve with any external agency or any other way of working, because it's built for World Vision. It has all that content built in. It comes with the latest campaigns, the latest products. So if you really limited for resources, the touch points that you really need to get engaged with are very limited, and you can let the platform take the heavy lifting for you. So, lots to look forward to when you do engage with Ria's team. And I know that we're working with the first countries joining cohort 2 at the moment to lay those plans out. Key element there is to identify decision makers and lay out a plan that delivers the right resources to the projects in the time agreed, and then works towards an agreed date for getting us live and getting those benefits from the platform in front of our supporters. So lots going on there. And in terms of input for this session, that is actually where we're going to leave it. We've actually got quite a bit of time left at the end here, a good 20 minutes if we want it, for Q&A. So if you've got questions either about what you've just heard with Ria in the team, about what's needed sort of with the local team and how that might be worked best together with the customer success team, do put those in the chat. I just have those. Equally, thinking back to the start of the presentation, we had a quick whiz through the platform and we saw various aspects of Spain's implementation that's now ready. Do drop in any questions in the chat that you might have about that. And if we don't know the answers, I see that Isabel is on as well in the chat, so we might ask you, Isabel, to help us out if we get stuck there. I see we've got one question in the chat already, so I'm going to dive into that. Hi, Dennis. Lovely to have you on. Great to see you on here. So Dennis asks, and he's referring back to the demo that we saw on the Spain site. It says, so no need for sign up to donate to one-time donations. How about monthly donations? Do we have a sign-up process needed before we donate or not? Helmut, I'm going to let you take that one if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that question, Dennis. We're building this platform out iteratively. So all the transactions currently work without a sign-up. However, we're already in the process of implementing a sign-up process. And the way we're doing this is to get the most value to the users. And the first value we can deliver is part of Leapfrog. So sign-up experience for sponsors, but personalized content. So that's why we are thinking about giving supporters the option to sign up after they have sponsored a child and after they have made a recurring donation. However, we're not going to let that block the initial donation process, right? So you can actually donate to a recurring donation product without having to sign up. But after the donation, we're going to ask you, do you want to create an account now? If yes, we can store your data. You can access personalized content. So we can get a value to the supporter in exchange for them giving us their data to sign up. So that's the rough idea of how we're currently implementing this. I think we actually shared this in one of the product town halls already, the user flows for this at least. So feel free to go to worldvisionunited.org and have a look at the previous product town halls where we discussed this in more detail, what the user flow looks like.
Thanks, Helmut. So yeah, very clear answer there for you, Dennis. Not required, and we wouldn't want to put that up as a barrier. We wouldn't want to force people to have to register and go through barriers in order to set up a regular donation. But as soon as we have those features available for users to be able to log back in and see the process of a subscription type donation, if that's a childhood rescue or a child sponsorship, then obviously they have the option to do that online, as well as pick up the online experience for a regular gift that they've started on another channel. So that's all part of the scope that we're looking to build out for the platform moving forward. I'm going to see if there's any other questions coming through. I'm seeing some questions here. Stu, thank you for joining. Good to see you on. Some encouraging words from Stu there. Great to see it. Spain's nearly done. Of course, Stu knows that the UK is also nearly done because he's involved in the testing of it at the moment. So that's going to be the next website to launch on the United platform shortly after Spain. And Stu saying we're great to hear from Spain about their go live and post go live experiences later in the year if possible, maybe learnings and suggestions for other offices. Funny you should say, Stu, we were having that exact conversation earlier this morning with the team. We'd love to invite, and actually this goes for all offices taking part, we'd love to invite some guest speakers onto this webinar so that we can hear the different experiences, the things that have gone really well, the things that we found really challenging. We'll of course be reviewing that. We're doing a review internally of each launch to see how we can make things smoother. And the cohort 2 countries that are going through at the moment are already benefiting from that. A lot of the material that's been prepared in cohort 1 has been reviewed and reproduced in order to be more effective for cohort 2. But we'd love to do that in the open and really share the learnings so that we can encourage other offices to hear it from the horse's mouth, as we would say. And I know there's a lot of bilateral conversations going on about offices that are going through this process together as well. Really encourage that if there's an office that you work closely with, to have a chat about that experience with those other offices and see how we can improve things. We're absolutely open to changing the way we work to better deliver that global value for our supporters worldwide and make the experience of coming on board as straightforward as possible. I'm seeing there's a couple of questions there around how do we sort of handle an order once it's processed? Is there a back end? Is there integrations in the app ecosystem? Am I right to pass back to you to answer those again? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Patrick, for those questions. So I'm going to answer the first one first. It's kind of a yes. So we do have a backend. We're trying to keep this as light as possible. So I know that in other platforms, there's lots of, let's say, CRM functionality duplicated. For us, we're trying to build this as lean as possible because our goal is automation with other systems, which kind of touches on your second question, right? So there is a backend where you can actually export all the transactions that have been completed as a CSV file. You can either specify date range or just say, give me all the new ones that haven't been exported previously, and then you can do whatever you want with them. So you can either process them manually, or you can upload them into your CRM system if it has the capability, and so on. So it's kind of a yes. It doesn't offer a lot of functionality on purpose, right? Because we want you guys to do the things in the system that's best used for, and we want to automate this as soon as possible. So that's the first question. The second one is, are there any integrations with systems like iVision or Horizon? So we do have a Horizon integration already in RMT. So I think we showed that in one of the last webinars where we showed the registered children widget, where you can actually see images of children, child names, the country the child comes from, and so on, which all comes in real time from Horizon and from RMT. So that's possible. We're currently in the process of building out CRM integrations as well. So the one that we're starting with is Sima, where we have already started the development, and we're looking into other CRM systems as well. My guess is if you're saying iVision, you mean the Asian iVision, not the European one. So those are definitely both of them are two that we're looking into right now. So for New Zealand Echo, Asian iVision, and European Navision, we're currently in the conceptual phase of looking at how are we going to implement this. For Sima, we already have completed that phase, and we're into implementation now. So that's kind of the latest status in terms of integration, but definitely our focus is on automating this. So that you guys have less manual work to do. But of course, as Ria mentioned earlier, this also means that your systems need to be ready to actually process that kind of automated data flows, and that you use the data in a way that actually helps us automate those data flows, and you don't have any manual checks in your processes or use data fields in funny ways and so on. So I guess there's always a question of, is an office ready to automate, and can we actually provide the technology to automate? So those two bits will fall into place very soon over the next couple of months, I think.
Thank you, Helmut. Yeah, great to call it out in that way. Actually, there's the technology required to automate, and as you mentioned there, we've built out the United end. We're working with Global IT, who are building out the rest of the Sima end of the conversation, if you like, two ends to that conversation, to get data flowing very seamlessly into Sima, which of course is a big boost over where everybody is today that's using Sima. We don't have that anywhere. And we'll be looking to extend that as far as we can. But as you say, sometimes we have a common API, but if the fields are being used in a different way in different places, that can cause challenges on a global platform, because of course we have to have a global platform working in a common way. And so we may need to work with your IT team or with global IT to tweak any elements that have become a little bit customized and gone away from, or actually if they conflict with something that's happening in another country across the partnership. So we're managing that as well. Thank you for those questions. I'm going to put out our last call for questions because we are running up to the top of the time there. I'll just highlight that the roadmap. So some of the questions here we've had are, what are we doing about integrations? The roadmap for those is available on the same community hub that Ria pointed us to earlier, which I'll put a link in the chat in just a minute, which is the community hub that supports all the training material. It also has the feature roadmap, so that will show you what's coming up in terms of features, and it shows you the kind of the quarter in which we're working on the sort of first version of that feature, the minimum viable product, which is the concept that we talked about last time when we were talking about the agile process. So it may be that actually if you look there, you'll see, oh, we're delivering an iVision integration or a such and such feature on the front end. It may be that the particular bit that you want of that, the particular bit you're excited about, may not be delivered in the minimum viable product. That might come later. What we're trying to do is to deliver the core piece of value that enables a supporter to get the value they need from it. In order to actually optimize for that, because of course that's where our income comes from. That's what this platform is all about. And then we'll work with offices to understand how we can optimize that, both from the user's perspective, the supporter's perspective, and also to make that easier for us internally. We certainly don't want to make our own lives harder, but we do want to make sure we focus on building the things that are going to bring the customer value, rather than working on too much behind the scenes that maybe doesn't change our performance at all. So I am not seeing anything else coming through on the chat. So I'm hoping that means that we've asked or answered rather all of your questions to your satisfaction. But of course, if you're already engaged with United, or if you're planning to be engaged, I'm hoping that you'll already be talking to Ria and the team about the details of that. So do pick up any further questions that you have over the course of those conversations. We're going to be very busy over the next few weeks, working on those final stages of throwing the switch for Spain, and seeing that early performance happen after Easter, seeing what happens when real supporters come into contact with the site. I'm not sure, it depends on the final date that we lock in once we've understood everybody's return from holiday, how much data we're going to have by the time we all meet up again on the next webinar. And we might actually just change the date of the webinar next month just to make sure we can get a little bit of more data in there. We'll see how that goes. We'll use the email list to communicate with you, so that we can make sure that we have a sort of useful and timely conversation depending on the time of that. If there are any particular areas that you want us to address, either to do with how we're working and how best to get the best results as part of the program, or in terms of the product itself, what we might be thinking about in a particular area, or what we've done in a particular area, do let us know either in the chat here or via email or any other channel that will reach us. And we're happy to incorporate those into later webinars so that we can cover that for everybody and give everyone a resource to come back to. We're very conscious that not everyone's able to participate in this live call, but a lot of people do check up on this after the event and get a lot of feedback about that. So very happy to pick that up, even if you're not able to participate and address the topics that you are looking to see. So next time we get together, we'll see who we can have on as a guest maybe, but we'll be talking about some more aspects of what's been delivered onto the platform, and then exploring more about working with United and getting the best results. So I very much hope that you will join me. I'm just going to thank Ria. Thank you very much for being on, for giving us the benefit of your wisdom. Helmut, thank you as always, my regular partner on these things. It's been lovely today not to be a presenter, but just to be introducing my colleagues. Thank you both. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate the time out of your day and hope this has been valuable. And we very much hope that you'll join us again when we next catch up about World Vision United. Until then.